What's going on there, kings, queens, and everybody in between? It's your boy MFC coming back at you with yet another edition of your podcaster's favorite podcast, Clout.WAV. And today we have a few very particular topics on this fast-paced Thursday evening. Even though it's Friday now, but we record on Thursday normally, so it's Thursday for you wherever you are in the world. However, you're not going to argue with me. All my complaints are going to be taken up by our R&D department. Subtle Fraudulence, how you doing? I know it's been a while since we've been able to do this, since MomoCon, but are you feeling well-rested? Are you ready to go? You enjoying life?
There's no such thing as being well rested or enjoying life. But some things have come out. Some great things have happened in society. Street Fighter 6 has blessed us, so we're all happy right now. Except for the fact that there are network problems and there's also some input issues with that game. And I've found out recently that it may have the Marvel input structure, where if you hold the button, it'll come out at the most available frame. It doesn't matter though, because Trump got indicted, bro. Like, there's some crazy shit happening. All right, like we're living, man. We're living out here.
Every time I look at the news, I either see some politician is doing something they shouldn't, or a new video game is coming out. So on one hand, it's like, well, I mean, at least they're going to try to reprimand some folks who did some wrong. And then on the other hand, it's, well, Mortal Kombat 1 looks like it's going to be in good hands, and I can't wait for that in a couple months. And I look back to my left, and all of a sudden, we got people trying to cancel esports players for having opinions about basically the LGBTQ at this point. And I'm just starting to figure out, like, do we do this every other week? Like, how does this keep happening? Like, unsolicited opinions aside, have people learned that they always have the option to just shut the fuck up? Especially when they have the cozy bag. Like, it's one thing if you got the arduous journey, working 60 hours a week, and I mean, you gotta go through the ringer just to make ends meet. But when you have the cushy, all I gotta do is press W on the keyboard and get my aim up in various video games online, I just feel as though fumbling that bag is just something that shouldn't be on the table as often as it is. But here we are. But for those of you who don't know, somebody was talking about Pride Month being accepted by a school district for, elementary, middle school, high school, etc. And for whatever reason...
Wait.
Oh, go on.
You gotta remember, this is being discussed because a fight broke out outside of a school.
I was getting there.
That's the real crazy part. They got this on video. A brawl happened outside of a school because of a discussion of a school possibly having some acknowledgement of Pride Month at the school. So
there were some people who were some anti-LGBTQ agitators, disruptors,
who had
protesters.
Nothing to do with the school, by the way. People who remember when they had the town hall meetings where Matt Walsh would show up and be like, how dare you have bathroom bills over here, my child, whatever. And it was like, hey sir, did your child go to the school? What? No, I'm doing this for justice. Those kind of people.
All right, Batman, settle down.
They all flew in. You had your Nazis, your Proud Boys, your et ceteras, your QAnoners, some mix of those groups put together who were there to to do an anti-LGBT protest because they heard of this somehow. And they started a brawl with people who were there, who were probably there hey, maybe you should not be so rude when this is just an acknowledgement of people who already exist. And that shit, I saw the video and that shit looked like it looked like World Star for a second, but it also had at least 20 or 30 people who were in this group fighting each other. So that was, I can't believe that shit happens, but
So here's the thing. Look, here's the thing. Look, I'm not even going to throw the labels of QAnon or anything like that. But if you show up and you're like, hey, we don't want your Pride Month or your month of whatever minority group in this school. We don't want it. And it gets to a point to where you hear your concern's voice, and instead of just pulling your kid out and doing the due diligence if this is such a big enough issue to enroll your kid in a different school, look, my dad had some problems with the current school district that we're in, so he took it upon himself to get the late shift and then drive me to another school that was a little bit further out. Bus route didn't come here. So it's doable. People have done it. But at the end of the day, to get to a point to where you're like, what? You're going to acknowledge those people? And now you got to start putting the hands and the paws on folks. I'm just trying to figure out, how did we come? I thought y'all were supposed to be civilized adults.
They were not
uncouth savages who just want to, like, because, I mean, beating them up, what did you think? You thought it was going to help your cause?
Nah, they were ready. There's no way. Like, do you remember with January 6th where they were like, oh, no, those people came there to watch Trump speak. And then, like, I don't know, like they just, some of them got rowdy and then they started breaking into the building. And then you find out later they had like whole forums of people who were like, all right, so this is the plan. All right, so we're going to buy some guns. We're going to get some sticks. We're going to bust in through the North Corridor over here. Actually, here's a map of the building. Like it definitely seems like this is on that wave of like, they planned it. Okay, we're gonna go there.
Every conservative has a Dale Gribble in their phone book.
Exactly.
They may not know he's Dale right now, but believe me, somewhere you have a Dale Gribble.
And some of them get crazy. But it just seemed like they were like, okay, we're gonna get there. Someone's gonna sneeze on us, and then we're just gonna be like, hey, and then just a fight breaks out. That way we can beat up as many of these fools as we want to because they need justice, swift, hard justice with our face. Because
all right, Brave and the Bold, simmer down.
Well, when I pull out Law and Order, it's over. That's
when
really
I pull out Law and Order, we'll send them to the Special Victims Unit. Wait a minute. Whoa, hey, what are you saying there, sir? But how this relates to the vapid world of esports is somebody had said, hey, man, I can't believe this type of thing broke out near me while I was in my esports home, like somewhere where I thought I was relatively safe.
My esports home.
I mean, it was their team home.
It was.
It's where they were being housed. And then NickMercs comes out and just says, what does he say? Tell them. Let them know.
He said, leave the kids alone.
Yep. And unfortunately, the context of the original tweet was, this is dangerous that this would happen. And when you say leave the kids alone, you make it seem as though the people who got beat up deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be saying, oh, you're reading too deep in between the lines. Look,
if
I found out, if someone made a video saying, man, I can't believe that lion got out of its containment and killed that guy. That's crazy. And then someone just says, wildlife matters. You would be like, first of all, that's not even a wild lion. What type of assertions are you making right now? Because the person who killed has nothing to do with the zoo. They don't even work there. They were a civilian. Then you got to have that conversation. And it's like, there are nuances to what the situation was. And then when you said it, if that is your opinion, I'm not even going to say that you're wrong. I'm not even going to go as far as to say you should be smited. But you have to understand, when you are a public figure, surprise, surprise, you might have some people within the LGBTQ who follow you, adore you, donate to you, or donate, fund, and give their hard-earned schmeckle coins to the people that you're the ambassador of.
Frosty, you don't understand. I am a parent. And what if my kid gets wrapped up in this stuff? They're grooming the kids. Don't you hear what they say on the news? We got to stop this. We got to protect the kids from all the nonsense that's going on here.
Now you listen here there, Mr. Fraudulence. As a father myself, my son, he's not allowed to hang out with any other melanated brouhaha folk. Not because I have any sort of ill will towards the people of my own complexion, but because I've seen what goes on in Chicago, Atlanta, in the inner city schools of the public school system of New York. And I must say, I found a higher caliber of people with Asian in their persuasion, whether it be regular Asian or Caucasian. And those are the only people I allow my son to intermingle with. You see how dumb that sounds?
Yeah.
You see how stupid that sounds?
Yeah.
You see how preposterous what I just said sounds? Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people, both black, white, and of all colors, who have insert some race here that they won't allow their kids to intermingle with because of some notions that they've seen and some narratives they've seen pushed or by some agenda of some media outlet or some content creator. Yes, I have to say content creator because the grift doesn't even stop on non-licensed news networks. There are some people who take Drama Alert with or without Keemstar as gospel with like not even with a grain of salt. They're just like, no, that makes sense. I believe. I'm all in. And like they're cool with that, which to me makes zero sense. But if that's what you want to do, you do you, boo-boo. But reeling this back into the NickMercs situation, when you say leave the kids alone, when this is an issue about celebrating Prime Month, you have to ask, okay, what could he have meant in the most innocent of terms? Because you got to play devil advocate with, a situation like this. So most innocently, he could have said, hey, look, I don't believe this is something that should be in schools in any way, shape, or form. But then you have to ask, do you know what was in aforementioned, like, Pride Month? Like, were they just going to have rainbows? Were they just going to say, feel free to be you? Because I don't think at the 4th grade level, you're going to have somebody come in and go, hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Julianne. I used to be Filbert, but I'm Julianne now. Now, let me teach you about how when the ovaries are ready to be impregnated by
all right.
they're not, that is not what was taking place.
Exactly. 9 times out of 10, the kids are not. All the things that the adults are assuming is like, I don't know, it's coming from like a perverted place in their minds, not from the people who said this is what's going to happen. They're like, hey, yeah, we're just going to celebrate Pride Month, which means we're just going to celebrate that there are people out there who, are part of the LGBTQ plus IA plus.
But
like,
what
community.
this kind of reminds me of? It's not quite the same, but it's very similar, at least in my book.
What?
You remember how like weed was like scrutinized for years, decades even, to the point to where if you listen to certain news outlets, media, pundits, you listen to certain people who have microphones in front of them and have quote unquote credentials, they would have you think that weed was as addictive and as self-deprecating as crack. Like it was making it seem
for madness.
You want a bunch of bass heads running around your neighborhood? Like, first of all, potheads, they're not running.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's not like it's not heroin. Like there's a huge difference, but they always make it seem like no. Once you start smoking weed, the next day you're gonna go to crack, and it's like we know better now. But it took a while because of all the propaganda, and we're just in another spot with another group of people here, and unfortunately, you have to like sit here and the fight for other people's lives when you just hear some dude who's just like, yeah, I don't like them. They're trying to hurt my kids. And it's like, bro, what kids? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, I know you. You're not even a dad. You lying.
Because at the same time, like, this is not in defense of NickMercs, but once again, I like playing devil's advocate. I like giving everybody a quote unquote fair shake. But it's not necessarily what you said, but you got to learn how to read the room. Twitter? It's like having a hand grenade, and you may not have even meant to nudge the pin, but you did.
Nah,
and now
man.
that it blew up and you have a chance, because he had a chance. He had a chance to really punctuate what he meant.
And he said the opposite. He said like a bunch of shit that was not even what he actually meant in the tweet. And he's like, you see, I'm just trying to be a good parent to my kid. The dangers of the world. It's all crazy out there.
Here's like, this isn't even the worst part about it. A bunch of people said what they thought he meant. The narrative of what they thought he meant and how they understood what he meant, given the context and the framework of the original tweet. And when people asked him to elaborate, he never really decided to actually punctuate things in a way that showcased that, hey, I ain't got a problem with the LGBTQ. I'm just saying XYZ, whatever it was he wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
But then he decided he was going to take to his stream, talk to his audience, and he said, listen, guys, I'm not sorry. I'm keeping it up. And it's like, if the vast majority of the people over there may not have any way to understand what you could have possibly meant and you weren't clear with your words, that's on you. Because you could have laid down the framework for exactly what you wanted to say. Because it's not just the people who disagreed with NickMercs. There are people who were vehemently anti-LGBTQ who were like, NickMercs W! And those were the people who were pushing his message on social media, which in no way, shape, or form is going to be a good look when you are literally in one of the biggest first-person shooter franchises of all time as an operator in Call of Duty.
And here we go for the backlash. See, the fallout, the results. He got removed from said video game because it's Pride Month. That company wants to make money. If they see that this operator that they've added, the person who represents that operator, is out here saying stuff that's going to ruin the bag for them, they're like, nah, get him out of here. Nah.
Because them saying that they got him out of there, there are definitely people who are going to be like, wow. And they're going to be all supportive of Activision Blizzard. Because, I mean, let's be honest. If there's anything we've seen about ActiBlee, they will do anything at this point to be in the good graces. Remember, they still got a Microsoft deal they're trying to get pushed. Overwatch 2 is in shambles. Destiny 2 players are still scratching their head on how they got conned into buying this game, even though it's free to play now. World of Warcraft is hoy vey.
But hey, Diablo 4.
And Diablo 4 was able to reel people back in, but with all the different sexualities and genders that you are now having afforded to you in a lot of their various games, y'all shouldn't be shocked that this is the stance that Activision Blizzard would take. Now, I'm not saying that you can't stick to your guns. I'm not saying I would advocate that you do that. And if that's what NickMercs wants to do, the floor is his. More power to him. I'm not knocking him for that. But what I'm saying is, if you want to have the balls, if you want to stand 10 toes down on something, at the very least, be clairvoyant with your speech. Say exactly what you mean. Dictate it and orate it the way that it needs to be to cultivate your message in a way that cannot be misconstrued or misunderstood, because unfortunately, that is a key part of the game of having any sort of political opinion, especially on the literal existence of other people. And once again, like I said, I'm not saying that he hates gays. I know there's a lot of people who are taking it there, but I don't see that. I feel like that's people running with a narrative in and of their own framework. But
it's just that he's being a useful idiot.
That's what I'm saying.
The problem.
If I saw a bunch of people who I know for a fact are okay saying they hate the gays, they hate trans folk, and they'll call them slurs, and they're like, yes, NickMercs, woo! I might be like, hey, I wouldn't, at the very least, I would disavow y'all very strongly, you know?
Let's go for a real life example here.
Talk to me.
Just Pearly Things. She was, a girl who once said Fresh and Fit treated her badly, and now she does their exact same content, But everybody sees her content. They hear the things she says. They see the things she does, and they're like, this girl is pretty dumb. But some people are going to believe her. So she's like on TikTok, Instagram, all that shit, making money. And she's pushing the regular like red pill manosphere like type of content and saying, well, I'm a woman, so I would know. Women, you gotta do better, that kind of shit. And she had them in the first half where they're like, oh wow, a woman saying this. See, women, you gotta listen to your own right there. And then she has like a long ass interview with Nick Fuentes. Known Nazi who is banned from so many things that he's banned from PayPal for his Nazism. And you see her, you're like, oh, she's she can do a little bit of harm with her messaging, because if some people believe her too much, but she's not doing too bad. She's just dumb, and we just have to remind people, yeah, this woman's kind of dumb. But as soon as you see her associating with Nick Fuentes, that's a whole different thing now, because it's like now the Nazis like her. And she's going to be like, endorsing them because she's endorsing him. And it's not even a like, oh, she was just interviewing him one sort of thing. She is consistently doing content with this dude. So clearly she agrees enough with him to continue doing content with him. So people are going to see her shit. They've never heard of Nick Fuentes because you had to be terminally online to even know he existed. Now they see him, they hear some of the things he says. He has a good way of like making himself sound reasonable. And then they look him up and they're like, you know what? Maybe the Jews are doing something, and then it's over. You're Kanye West now. You've ruined your life. Like you got to come back with shoulder pads and a shirt that says the police, and it's like, don't worry, guys.
Or get signed to a multi-$100 million NBA contract and call yourself Kyrie Irving.
Well, see, there you go. Like it's over for you if you associate with these things. But people. Thanks to Twitter, people think that, I could just say whatever I want and then I'm not really going to get real repercussions. It's like, bro, it's just my opinion. What are you talking about? It's like, yeah.
When you're a bot with 150 or less followers, you can do that. When you're a faceless drone, but when you're someone who represents a company, you're someone who is an ambassador of a brand.
When you're someone who kids like look up to, or like, young adults look up to now, or who like grew up with you.
Yeah, I get why you necessarily wouldn't say, but I never asked to be a role model. And I'm not saying that you did. And I'm not saying that it's fair. But as we know, life is very seldomly fair. If you have an audience, you are responsible for your audience to a degree. I'm not saying you're responsible for everything they do, but if you can clearly see the writing on the wall that things are going left, and you said, hey, I ain't even gonna do nothing about that. That's on them. It's a free country. It reflects poorly on you, whether you like it or not. Especially in situations where you are in control of your own narrative, and they just say, whatever. I'm doubling down and moving forward. It's not going to pay positive dividends, especially when at the end of the day, you could have made another 8-word tweet that just said, no, I'm not this, blah, 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 and disavow, blah, 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 whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen this with collaborations when it comes between content creators. If me and you were working on the podcast, and then next week you said, you know what? I think it'd be a good idea to type, black women just don't do it for me at all. Because
if you say that and I say nothing, people will look at your tweet, see that we do this, and then say, what's going on here? You support this? Hey, man.
No, they hit you with the subtle fraud. Like, that's your boy? That's your man?
Exactly. And I'll be like, yo, that man's crazy. We love black women out here. We stand black women out here.
And then exactly what you have to do. You're going to be like, hey, look, you're going to move on to bigger and better things. And you're going to have another podcast. And Mike going to show up and be like, what's going on, gang? It just won't, and I won't be there no more. Cooked.
No, man. I will simply say, look, if he's saying all this stuff, I will talk to him as much as I can. But I stand black women over here. That guy, I don't know what he's on, but I know that he does not hate black women. So if he doesn't come out here and say something, that. Yeah, if he doesn't come out here and like explain the craziness, then
you just did the field work in the hypothetical situation. But
we
spent enough time.
NickMercs has a baby. He doesn't have time for all that. His PR person can't tweet for him.
True.
Or can they?
True. I mean, hey, they're not paying him enough, but. All that aside, let's talk about the good graces of games that we're in, because it's June 9th, which means it's 6/9, which means it's a nice day, which means it's the end of the first week of Street Fighter 6 being in our hands. And I gotta say, as someone who felt jaded by the release of Street Fighter 5, because as you know, I bought that game on launch and I feel completely bitten by it. Now, granted, Street Fighter 5 came a long way. Kind of the original No Man's Sky approach of going from man that shambles to Street Fighter V in its last few patches and final season had some sort of solid foundation that I could even go as far as saying was a complete package experience. A little too late for my blood, but alas, Street Fighter 6 is a dawn of a new era, and boy, Is it cooking? It's good. It's a fully featured AAA title in a fighting game. Now, normally we would see just NRS and the Mortal Kombat or Injustice or whatever title they're working on being the only one that felt this heavily featured, but having a 30 to 40 hour open world multi-chaptered story in which you got to create a character, you can learn different styles, mix and match moves, beat up randoms, RNG, loot drops, customization, going to stores, and being able to level up and having skill trees. Wow. How is it that Street Fighter 6 is more of Overwatch 2 than Overwatch 2 is? Activision Blizzard, come on, that's shameful. The fighting games have caught you.
Look, Capcom, whatever, staff change they needed to make in order to get back to the winning side, they did it. And every release has been, a bit of a banger. They're like, hey, our major releases need the love and care that the fans want in order for us to make money.
The last, 6 or 7 years, y'all been on fire because you got Monster Hunter World, Devil May Cry 5, Monster Hunter Rise, Street Fighter 6. I know there's a game I'm missing.
Resident Evil 4 remake. All the Resident Evil remake games, actually.
All the Resident Evil remake games. 7. Was it Exoprimal? Y'all are getting in a couple months? Something like that? And that looks
Street
good.
Fighter DLC. Yep.
Yeah, so Capcom, you're doing bigger and better things, and I can only applaud you for everything that you've gone doing forward. And I mean, the RE engine is cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people had doubts and were skeptical at first, but we've had to shut up for years. So, kudos to them. Personally, playing through Street Fighter 6 is a game I've put 25 plus hours in the world tour. I think it's a great mode. I think that when it comes to teaching you Street Fighter and how the characters work and, the little guides that they've put in the game, the combo trials, the little videos that show you setups and things, points of interest in terms of learning a character, bar none, except for maybe Exerd had some things it did better in terms of his tutorial of teaching a player. But given how it's more straightforward, in your face, and inescapable how the tutorials are in Street Fighter 6, especially if you're playing World Tour and, the advent of modern controls, bar none, second to none, this is the best time to get into fighting games. If MK1's tutorial is even, we'll just say 2/3 as good as what you got in Street Fighter 6, you have no excuse to not know how to play fighting games.
Look, man, we back, bro.
Like we're up right now.
Looks like fighting games are back on the menu.
I know a lot of people were like, yeah, but didn't you start switching your content over towards shooters? And look, I do have a soft spot for shooters. I'm not saying I will never do shooter content again, but the eating is good. We're no longer getting McDonald's, Burger King, and Chick-fil-A. We got the filet mignon. We got the super ribeye steak. We at the Ruth Chris right now.
Look, Street Fighter 6 is good. And you're going to have some growing pains. But one of the things that needs to be said always is that it's not a race. It's not a race. You may see some people, you may see all the content creators and the influencers and whatnot who are master rank in rank battles and all that stuff and think, I got to get up there. I want to play with them. I want to play IDOM and Sajam and Wooly Versus right now. It's you'll get there. You just got to focus on learning and being better at the game, not being amazing immediately, because that's not going to happen. I mean, $2 million is on the line, but
but that
that's not going to happen.
Is not for you. That $2 million that they put out there showcasing to the world that we're going to have this big tournament, that was really only for about maximum 200 people on this planet for year one.
Hey man, there's some killers out there. You never know.
I'm talking about for general purpose. All right, at best, there's 2,000 people on the planet that was for.
Okay, that's fair.
At
that's
best.
fair.
And a lot of them don't even have the means to travel, which is why the online qualifiers are going to be great. But ultimately, grand scheme, you've never played Street Fighter ever before. That wasn't for you. You didn't play fighting games in general. That message wasn't for you. That is why they didn't spend so much time marketing towards them. That was the marketing. The big FGC, the people who are really invested in the competitive scene, that was the only advertisement they need, $2 million. And at that point, give them Lil Wayne. Show them doing casual things, because that's the audience you have to actually put in the effort to grab. Because the people who really care about competitive natured fighting games, they see the money and they see it's going to be a world tour and there's going to be online events. At that point, they could have shut up. Everybody who cared about that type of stuff was buying the game day one. Anyway. So there's that. And ultimately, the way they've handled the release, like there's been some hiccups, like you said, aforementioned, with the whole server issues, but they've been fixing them relatively quickly. Like they show up and get patched within an hour, which is something that a lot of games should take note of. Now, granted, a lot of games will do this much better in their release window of the first month or two. And then, once you get past that, the world's your oyster. It can be 2 days before you get your stuff fixed. Hell, look at Titanfall 2. I still remember.
Look, man, okay. So, yeah. Street Fighter is doing really, really well. Capcom is doing really well at keeping Street Fighter like stable, because they know that this is their nest egg for at least the next like month and a half. Street Fighter 6, the release is good regardless of the hiccups. Yeah, there were some network problems, but the network problems are happening because so many people are playing the game, which is great. There may be some input problems here, but like we're still figuring out whether or not it's intended because of the way they want people to play the game, or if it's something that needs to be addressed by Capcom. If it is something that needs to be addressed, it will be addressed by them, and you can have like the confidence that it will be. It could be related to the network problems. It seems like it's possibly related to the network problems, which is good. But hey, you don't even have to worry about that stuff. You can just play World Tour, and like you'll have a full video game experience right there. Unlike
the last generation and the previous predecessors of that, when you boot up a fighting game that has online capability and the online's not there, there's too many fighting games where you go, man, now there's nothing to do. And you turn the game off, you do something else. Now you have something to hold your attention. Now you have something to do that isn't just go to the lab, run through arcade mode. You have something that you can sink your teeth to that's relatively substantial. But also, if you come from a different game, there's a character for pretty much every type of game. I mean, you got an NRS character, you got a Guilty Gear character. I mean, you got a character that's just nonsense. Like you got all kinds of things that are in this game. I feel like JP's an NRS character.
Oh, for sure. And the NRS representative Sonic Fox is out here saying, hey, did you guys see this mix? Oh my God. Do you think you can block that? I don't think I can block this.
Hey, like I said, it's got a little bit of everything for everybody, which is great to see that they're diversifying their audience. And, I really do appreciate that, especially with the Hallmark characters still, embracing the new with the mechanics and Street Fighter 6 as a whole, but still maintaining their legacy foundation of what brought them to the dance in the first place. Except for E Honda, they gave that man methamphetamines. I don't know what.
Yeah, what doing. The fuck is DSP on the team again? What's going on here? My God, this hasn't happened since ST, or what is it? The ST version that came out on PS3, ST Remix. That's what it was.
That man's cooking up something special over there, but. They also found a basic block infinite for Blanca now. So, hey.
Oh, no.
Watch out. People are going to get cooked out there.
Actually, because I thought about that, how there's like, some gapless Blanca pressure that's out there. There's a mechanic that a lot of people are not using because it's early in the game. It's, was it V reversal? No, it is V reversal, but drive reversal. which that's going to get used a lot more when the infinites and like the infinite pressure, or the hey, I'm going to like burn you out if you don't do something about this pressure, starts coming in a lot more later on in the game. So, if you feel like your opponent's doing all that stuff to you, maybe keep that in mind. Hey, I got a reversal. I can just get you off me if I spend some of my drive bar. And that's going to eventually become worth it, even though it takes 3 drive bars to drive rush into anything. But yeah, drive reversal is going to be very important once that stuff starts coming in. People don't use it now because, I mean,
no one's pressure is long enough to where I feel like I'm in danger, unless you're
it's not Dragon Ball,
unless you're Manon or Geef, and I need you over there. Way over
Manon's pressure. Look, man, Manon's pressure is not even like, oh man, she's kept me in the corner so long that I just don't. I gotta keep blocking this. I'm about to be burnt out. It's like, oh, when's it gonna throw me? When's it gonna throw me? Oh my god, I have to hold up. I gotta do something. Oh no, he guessed I hold up. Oh no, he didn't throw me. Oh, I lost.
I think one of the worst things is like if I don't know if you remember Mika season 1 Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
And then you decide, you know what? I know what I'll do. I'll hold north on the D-pad. And then they did the flying, the backflip dunk. And then if you ever get hit with that, you just go, you know what? You got it, man. It's all yours. I don't even care.
Or worse, you're in the corner and they're just like, they're pressuring you and you're like, I'm going to hold up. And then you see this happen. And then it's like, oh no, I've been launched.
Yeah, it says crush counter. And you're like, all right, well, GG's. You got it.
Yep.
It's all yours. But all jokes aside, Street Fighter 6 has been a really great time. Now, we've been hearing things about one of the, dare I say, competitors to Street Fighter 6 that will be dropping in a few months, known as Mortal Kombat 1, the notorious reboot of NRS Studios and Mortal Kombat IP. And I'll be honest
I got to say up front, man, welcome to the Marvel scene, MK. Welcome to the Marvel scene, NRS.
Marvel Combat? That what you telling me?
You've made a versus game. It's, you know what? We're happy. We're happy to see this. You're gonna bring in the Marvel crowd, the Dragon Ball crowd, and then I don't know the other people.
Look,
but like
there's something that I don't think a lot of people looked at when the hands-on information was coming out from various players who got invited to NetherRealm Studios to test the game.
Mm-hmm.
Universal anti-air and air combos. There's a whole lot of new things in MK.
Yeah.
Comboing somebody in the air with air-specific normals, we haven't seen that since the 3D era, and I want to say, Deception and Armageddon? Yes. Yeah. Yes, they did have those.
But those was it? Armageddon had infinites.
Yeah. That's why they gave you 3 breakers. Because they knew you were gonna need them, and apparently breakers are back to being really costly. They're gonna cost 3 bars a meter. Although I guess the version that we saw on stage was with the Summer Games Fest must have been like a developer specific version, because I was keeping an eye on the mechanics, and when they did have the meter on the screen and they used breakers or they used their super moves, their meter never went down. So I was like, is breaker not a resource that you have to keep advantage of? But no, they've come out and confirmed that it does cost 3 bars. So we can say that there are resource management things in attendance. As far as the anti-air mechanic, we don't know too much about it, but as we already know with NRS games, the jump-ins has historically been ridiculous. And anybody who's ever played Mortal Kombat 11 with Slight Gas Cabal, Jackie Leap, Letha Glide from Spawn, or any character with an obnoxious jump 4, with the jump kick option select, this will go a long way towards future-proofing that these things are not abusive and, meta centralizing for the game and, hurting its longevity overall. Because if you haven't noticed, a lot of people who were making their claim to fame through Mortal Kombat 11 content was not popping. There's a reason why year 3 of MK11, the most popular Mortal Kombat videos we were seeing popping up were people going back to Mortal Kombat 10. And there was a reason for that. And while there seems to be a whole lot of new being integrated into Mortal Kombat 1's gameplay, What I have observed is a lot of the things that we really loved in Mortal Kombat 9. Yes, MK9, the NRS GOAT, the game that started this NRS shebang in the first place. We're not going to talk about those other games. Those games didn't happen. But Mortal Kombat 9, where they were on the peak of their game. There are a lot of those design elements and philosophies that seem to be at play from what we saw. Now, to what degree, we will have to wait and see. But ultimately, I'm saying this looks like a big step up. Now, the thing I want to talk about is, did you see the eye candy? Did you see the visuals? And when I see that, I have to say it. I have to ask. I have to know. Subtle Fraudulence, please dictate this to me. How is this game coming on the Switch? What are they getting? What are they getting?
Look, I told you, the Switch is gonna blow up. Like, you're gonna have. It's gonna be like when Samsung phones would just like randomly explode at one time.
The Note 7 or what was it?
Yeah. It's going to be like that because someone's going to load their digital version of MK1 and they're going to be like, yeah, this is amazing. They're going to pick their little cameo in their character. They're going to go in training mode and they're going to do that like dual X-ray move where your cameo does an X-ray and then your character does one. And then the Switch will just catch on fire right there. It's like, hey, what's happening?
Aqua Teen Hunger Force explosion. Shrapnel everywhere. Nah, man. I mean, I'm convinced that this is going to be like when Mortal Kombat Armageddon came out on the Wii, and it just looked weird and off. Like, I just feel like it's not going to look right.
Come on, man. 30 FPS Mortal Kombat is going to be fucking crazy.
However, I will say I have underestimated the talents of the Switch before. I'm not saying that it's going to look even remotely near as good. That would be me lying to you. But I don't think it's necessarily going to blow up like the PS4s when they were trying to run God of War Ragnarok. What I think is going to be more like is, because look, I don't know if any of you have ever seen Metroid Prime Remastered on the Switch. Now, it looks infinitely better if you were to emulate it on a, let's just say, emulator that allows you to scale it up to 4K. Looks phenomenal. And the Switch can't hold a candle to it. But on the Switch, with proper dev team optimization, you can do a lot with a little, which is very impressive. So it'll be nice to see what the development team that they're going to outsource this to. Because yes, the only one that NRS is working on in-house is the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X versions.
You remember Game Boy versions of games, like Game Boy Advance versions of like.
Do not talk about Game Boy MK, because that was a whole different game. They just had new characters and they just got rid of characters, and I was like, I don't.
Maybe that's what's gonna happen. Maybe we're gonna get like a Game Boy specific version, or like a Switch specific version of MK1 that's gonna be
no
like
cameos. It's just straight up 1v1 because they can't have 4 players on the screen.
Oh, X-Men versus Street Fighter on PlayStation. What? No. If you don't know, the PlayStation 1 version of X-Men Cross Street Fighter, or X-Men versus Street Fighter, had no tag outs. That's what it was. It's a 2v2 game where you couldn't tag out your character. Like, it was only 1v1. You could only do like the team supers. And that was it, actually. Like you just picked the second character just to be there.
That might be the future of MK1 on the Switch,
bro.
But I guess the last thing we're here to talk about this week, because I mean we're both excited for MK1, but there is another game that I'm excited for, and it's a game that I'm sure a lot of people haven't had on their radar, especially if they're not Pokemon fans. But folks, I don't care how stupid it is. I don't care if I'm walking into a scam. I have not walked into a scam game in a decade and a half, at least.
Oh,
but I'm telling you right now, this one right here, I'm going to let Jesus take the wheel on this purchase. I'm talking about Pal World. For those of you who don't know, it's a open world survival game in which you'll be catching Pokemon, giving them SMGs, assault rifles, grenades, rocket launchers, and opening mayhem on the world, or cultivating an own village, starting a farm, living the cozy life like you're playing Minecraft or some weird unique version of Billy Hatcher or Terraria. Or You could just live a life like a NPC Sims character, or you could be playing Gears of War. There's so many things that you could do that there's no way that they're not overselling me. This is No Man's Sky 2. This is happening. I know it is. They are going to show us stuff that I know they cannot fully balance and get right, and I don't care. I have to know. I have to see. I have to see Pachirisu packing heat. I need it.
When I see the designs of these creatures that are very clearly just like off-brand Pokemon.
Oh, they're not even off-brand. That it's like, oh, you know the Pokemon Arcanine? This is Arcanate. That's what it looks like.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, does Nintendo even have like the right to like sue, or is it so just different that they're like, well, sorry, we can't. I mean, like, it looks the same, but it's not exactly the same. So
where's the thing? I think they copyrighted their designs, and I would think that would be enough. But I think because it's so compartmentalized with 1,000 something Pokemon right now. Like, if a Digimon looks somewhat like a Pokemon, are they really going to sue each other? And I also feel as though Pokemon, or I should say Game Freak as a whole, gaming-wise, probably really doesn't give a shit because it's not even in the same genre. And the way that the battle system looks like, it's not even remotely similar. So it's like, oh, is Naruto going to sue somebody because Jujutsu Kaisen also has a character with white hair who's a sensei who has something covering their face? Like, that's where, like, is that what we're doing? And ultimately, I just feel as though it's silly enough to where at the end of the day, you could just write it off as parody. And I think that's where you can get your scapegoat. Because it looks like someone was chilling in their bedroom and made a shitpost. Because let's face it, there are plenty of Pokemon ROM hacks out there. But it's not illegal to make a ROM hack. What's illegal is to sell it and or put up the original ROMs somewhere for free. That's the illegal part of it. If you just so happen to combine a ROM file that you somehow got with somebody's other altogether separate code that is an edit, and you put them together with a patcher, and you make your own game, there's nothing that they can do about that. Because making that other secondary file is not illegal. Fan games fall into that unfortunate area of you're using our IP in a way that we didn't authorize, and we're going to have to take you down. Especially if you're trying to sell it. So it's a rough sell. But at the end of the day, provided you're not doing something with a Nintendo first party, you're usually fine. But first party Nintendo games, definitely this is not happening. But going through Game Freak, I just don't know if they care. Especially Game Freak still got to work on like their Pokemon Home integration for Scarlet Violet. I still think Scarlet Violet is getting DLC. I think that's still coming out. So ultimately, I'm just excited to see how much of a shitpost this game is. For all I know, this game could be godlike. It could be amazing. It could be something that I stream a couple times a week. I don't know how much content's going to be in the game. I mean, for a while there, we thought Halo Infinite was going to be a game that a lot of people were going to be sinking their teeth into. And
oh man,
how'd that turn out for everybody?
Look, some people still play it. It's you know.
Look, I can't necessarily say I know all the numbers, but I've checked through a couple of Steam database websites and Steam charts, and the Master Chief Collection has had a higher 30-day average of concurrent players than Infinite. Now, granted, you can make the argument, but the Master Chief Collection is 5 games. No, technically it's 6. Right? Halo's 1 through 4 in Reach. No, that's 5. Yeah, because Halo 5 is not a part of it. Oh, wait, no, ODST. My fault. Fault. It is 6. So, yeah, it's 6 games as opposed to 1, and I get that. But Halo Infinite was something that they bet big on, and it just seemed like they did not care. It's like they went through the whole Master Chief Collection release debacle, and they said, folks, let's do it again. It's like learning nothing was the main agenda for 343 Studios, but There's a reason why I call 343 Studios 343 reasons why I should uninstall. But folks, I'm in for Power World. Is there any other games that you're looking forward to that were either announced at the Summer Games Fest or just in general?
The Final Fantasy 16 is coming, and I might have to buy a PS5. But I literally said on stream the other day, I was like, what else would I even play on PS5? What would I buy? And I said, oh, maybe Ratchet and Clank probably. And then they announced that game for PC. So maybe I'll just wait until the game comes out on PC, which is going to take a year.
How do you feel about the Final Fantasy 7 game, especially since the next part of the remake is going to be 2 discs?
I mean,
that's going to be big.
It'll look really good, and it'll take a lot of memory. That's all I can really think of. Everything else is I'm sure the game will be fine, but that's going to take so much memory. 2 discs? Holy shit. It's going to be 300 gigs or some crazy shit like that.
Because I'm almost sure that Final Fantasy 7 Remake was also 2 discs, if I'm not mistaken.
Nah, the first one was 1 disc.
Because I believe that PlayStation 4's discs are only 50 gigabytes. So if you needed to, you could easily... No, wait, excuse me. No, PlayStation 4 is 50. I think PlayStation 5 is 100, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, 200 gigabyte game, it's not the worst. I mean, I think Call of Duty beats that, and that's just the digital download, so...
No, man, that was that one time where they forgot to compress the data for the game.
All I'm saying is people have done it before.
Yeah, you're right. Warzone is probably somewhere close to 100, 200 gigs again already. So, and it's getting more.
Really? Because
it's getting more content.
If you think about it, Ark Survival at one point required 400 gigabytes. That's if you had everything fully installed, and that's just... It sounds wild to say that out loud. Needed damn near half a terabyte drive just to run the damn game.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane.
Hell, Microsoft Flight Simulator is over 130 gigs. And that's just flying planes. But they got the whole planet on it, so... The Master Chief Collection, if you get everything, is 160 gigs. So this is not... What I'm saying is this is not uncommon. All right? This is not an uncommon thing to where having a large file size for a game is necessarily absurd.
But it'll be worth it, because this is possibly going to be different from the original Final Fantasy VII series. So that's the beauty of it. It might be different. There might be some changes here. We saw some Sephiroth in some trailers for this and the other Final Fantasy games. So yeah, who knows? But I think the gameplay will be fine. It'll be solid. You get to play as Red 13 and do dog things. That's nice. Yuffie's going to be an actual party member this time, so she's going to be with everyone else. Yeah, it's going to be fun shit. What is that coming out? End of this year? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So apparently there was breaking news, and I don't know anything about the Minecraft community or anybody like that, but do you remember that Dream Dude we talked 50 episodes ago about? Apparently people cared about his face. Well, apparently he announced that he will go back to wearing the mask and has deleted his face reveal video due to hate comments. And I'm just what? What are we doing?
It was a big thing, and he did get hate comments, but it's been so long, and also he's had so many other controversial things that came out that it's not the big controversy. That's not the thing to worry about when it comes to him now. It's actually grooming that we need to worry about when it comes to him now. So yeah, I don't know, maybe he's trying to steer the Discord away from talking about him and his activities with some of his younger fans, or I don't know. If he wants to wear the mask, he can, he should. I thought the face reveal was literally this is what I look like anyways, I'm gonna go back to my regular shit.
Hey man, no one cared who you were until you put the mask back on.
Well, there you go.
and that's rough. But last thing I'll say is apparently there's a Twitch streamer named RuneB who apparently has been suspected of having fake engagement on their channel due to Twitch. They claim that they're wrong and their view count and chat activity has been very consistent, but they suspended the ad revenue that she is allowed to make from their channel without notifying them. So they're still running 7 minutes of ads an hour and it's not benefiting me at all. Now, over 10% of an hour going to ads, to me, that's crazy. To me, that's insane.
Yes, it is.
And if you're doing over 10% of your runtime as ads to non-subbed viewers, once again, I can't support and endorse. That's crazy. But for Twitch to not tell you, man. Whew, 7 minutes.
Look, we'll talk about Twitch on the next episode because there's other things.
I know. I'm just saying that. Just want to throw it out there, a little teaser for next week. But anyways, we're coming up to an hour. We'll catch you guys next time. Somebody's got a tournament they got to win.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll catch you guys later. Take care of yourselves, etc., etc. Drink water.
Hey, got my cup right here. Y'all take care.